Game Over 86 coming back today with some huge PlayStation 5 news, some PlayStation specs that I think are just going to be really pushing the competition for next-gen hardware, especially in the consoles. Not really much PC, but it's cool to see. We're going to go ahead and talk about it right now, guys, because Mark Cerny came out and released some information. Really big information, in my opinion. A lot of positive information. And I think a lot of this stuff, guys, we need to really pay attention to. And the only thing that I'm going to go ahead and nip in the butt, guys, right now is the 8K graphics. I can see it movies-wise because we have 4K movies and whatnot that run at 60 frames or 120 frames or whatever your TV pushes hertz-wise. But I do want to say 8K graphic gameplay, that's laughable. When you see YouTubers out there that are just doing it, they're doing it for clickbait because they're too sorry to actually have people come join and actually look to get some positive information. I ain't dogging them. I'm just saying it's laughable that they have to take that kind of cheap shot at their own channel to get people to click on it. I mean, 8K gameplay, it's the newest. They just won. No, none of that shit, okay? I got a 10 times better PC than what the PlayStation 5 will have in it, and I'm not dogging the PlayStation. I'm just saying, hear me out. I have better specs and better hardware in my PC right now, and I can't push 8K gaming. I can push 4K about 80 to 90 frames, but I normally do 1080p at 240 frames or 144 frames, depending on what the game is. Max settings, yeah, 4K, 80 to 90 frames is what I can push with mine. I have a 1080 GTX, and I got 36 RAM. I got a shitload of 7700 Intel. A shitload of stuff, okay? Liquid cooling engine. I got a bunch of stuff on there. But let's go ahead and get back to this. I just wanted to nip that in the butt for you guys to join. I'm not going to clickbait you. I'm not going to be sitting here going, 8K gaming, because I actually know what I'm talking about when it comes to hardware and stuff like that. Me and my brother have built PCs. We know the software part of it too. But Sony reveals some really cool details that I'm excited for. I will buy a PlayStation 5 when it comes out. It's going to have PlayStation exclusive games that just the PC won't have. Sony's still, that's a marketing strategy that they do. A lot of people say it's anti-consumer, but you know what? You got to sell consoles somehow. You got to sell your, your customers on an experience. And if they were bringing out exclusives that were a joke, then I would say, hey, it's not worth it. But they're not. They're bringing out great experiences. They actually take their time with. They don't rush the developers. They give the developers enough time and money and resources. But besides that, guys, it's cool to see PlayStation 4 backwards compatibility. And not only that, it's going to be the PlayStation 4, PlayStation VR backwards compatibility as well. So if that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what does. And I know a lot of people, before you even jump, yeah, but the PlayStation 1, 2, and 3. Listen, I think it's still going to come. I think it's still going to be backwards compat. And I think they're just going to release it down the road around that time to get you excited for the PlayStation 5 again. Because is as big, excuse me, guys, as big as this gets, everybody's here with the PlayStation 5 right now. Even the Switch lords went from making Nintendo Switch videos to come up here. Yes, that was a shot at all the YouTubers that have every Switch fucking video known to man. Then they're like, I'm a gaming channel. And all they do is talk about the Nintendo Switch. No, you're not. You're a fanboy. Now stay to what you know. Anyway, even Xbox fans, man, we're jumping into this. I'm just an all gaming channel, really. I make whatever. But when I see that the hype is up here for PlayStation 5, it'll eventually kind of die back down again until we get closer and closer, to a release date, to pricing, to what games possibly will be coming on it, other stuff, other features, other accessories, possibly, with the new PlayStation 5 controller having a screen possibly built into it. That would be cool. Maybe a new PlayStation VR 2 with the gloves, and when I say gloves, it's just little things that you would stick on your fingers to where you can grab stuff and you can hold things. You don't have to actually physically hold something, except for just in that way, in that form. Picture the Nintendo glove with just out the whole glove, and it's like little pieces over your hand that relay it back, and it would strap around your wrist. I'm not saying it is coming. I'm just saying it's been rumored. A lot of people won't tell you about that stuff. That's because they're still playing their, 720p VR Zelda. Oh, I gotta hold it up here. That was just a quick jab, guys. I'm kidding. And the best way to play Zelda is docked, by the way, because you're gonna have less lag and less frame drops. But to get back to PlayStation 5, after I took a couple jabs because I have to stay, human, I think. I'm still breathing air, right? Anyway, the SSDs. That's awesome, guys. For those of you that don't know what an SSD is, obviously it's a solid state drive. It runs a lot more efficient. Load times are way better. I have one for my OS on my PC, and then I use a 4 or 8 terabyte built-in, external hard drives in my PC. I mean, just for storage and games and shit and whatnot. But it's cool. It's cool to see, because they also talked about, Mark Cerny came out and said that, hey, we ran the PlayStation 4 with Spider-Man. It took 15 seconds of load time. But when we ran he said when he ran the PlayStation 4 Spider-Man game on the early developers, dev kits, it took 0.8 seconds with the SSD. So that's a big, big difference in load times. I think that will be really cool. And you know what? Discs have always been slow with load times when they have used them types of hard drives. And the biggest thing is they've been so expensive over the years, it just doesn't make a lot of business sense to add them into a console. I can see them putting in 2 different hard drives. I can see them putting in maybe a 250 to 500 gig SSD. Now, I know what a lot of people may think. Oh, wait, that's not enough. It's just for the operating and loading, and it's going to be separate. Let's say PlayStation 5's running all that stuff just through there, and then it should have like a 2 terabyte, at least 3 terabyte, 4 terabyte. Hell, I mean, them things are cheap. The external ones are cheap. I paid, I think, $80 or $90 for a 4 terabyte external. Internal ones are cheap too, as long as they're not SSDs. So I can see them using like a 250 gig or a 500 gig SSD just to run like everything on their system, to load and everything like that. But then when you save games and download games, I could see them having a separate hard drive. I can obviously be seeing them do something with a coolant system. I don't see them using fans, especially with the technology that they're going to be putting in here. They also state that it will have, including an 8-core, the PlayStation 5, an 8-core CPU based on AMD's 3rd gen Ryzen line. It says a built-on chip, company's latest 7M2 NM Zen 2 processor, and a custom GPU based on AMD's Radeon Navi hardware. And it said which will bring ray tracing graphics to the game console for the first time. Now, that's huge news. But when you hear ray tracing, a lot of people are thinking, oh, what NVIDIA showed. Now, yes, that's what they're talking about, where it has reflections on explosions and stuff like that. But it's not going to be into that full detail 8K, 4K. I think it better push 4K 60 on every game. I don't want to see any games going 4K 30 with next gen hardware. That's laughable. I don't want to see any of that. But notice, guys, that it's not always about the graphics. I know a lot of people always talk about graphics, and a lot of people always think, oh, graphics matter, graphics matter. I always think it's about the game experience. Graphics always comes second. If you have a great game but it runs like shit, then it don't matter. You don't really get experience the great graphics if it's not running well. You can have 4K and it run at 20 frames. It's going to look like shit. Even 30 frames looks pretty good if you run it right. Now, a lot of these consoles are mini PCs. I've said that in the past. They're not going to be running hardware like what you've seen ray tracing with the NVIDIA cards. Them are just way, way more advanced than the AMDs. They're more pricier. No matter what anybody tells you out there, it's just not feasible to be running it for the price. Now, they can do stuff to it to trick it and to slowly dummy it down to where it'll work on a console. But at its full potential, like I said with 4K right now, the upscaling effect on the PlayStation 4 Pro, it's tricking it into thinking, hey, I'm doing 4K when it's really not. And that's just a better way of, so you don't have to use as much hardware or you have to spend a lot of money. Because if you want to think about it, 2080 Ti, last time I remember, ray tracing one, it's up there, man. The NVIDIA, it's like $700 and some for the best one. And I think the cheapest one was like $600. I could be off a little bit, but I mean, it's up there in price. So you're not going to get that. And that's just the card. So to say that it's ray tracing, yeah, that's cool. It's coming to a console for the first time. It would be like Xbox One X saying 4K gaming, or the first ever 4K console. They did that, and a lot of it was marketing. 4K movies, 4K streaming, 4K games. But to see that the PlayStation 5, it said, will support 8K graphics. I see a lot of people have been putting in thumbnails and their headliner and all that, gaming, 8K gaming graphics. No, I think that it's going to support 8K movies. We're talking about next-gen hardware. When we first seen the PlayStation 4 come out in 2013, nobody was really talking about 4K movies or 4K games. Hell, when the PlayStation 3 first came out, Blu-ray just started becoming real popular, and there were still HD DVDs and DVDs. So people are like, oh. So it does evolve. I'm not saying, in the year 2020 when the PlayStation 5 hits, it'll be 8K movies out there and all that. No, but consoles last about 5 to 7 to 8 years in a generation. So if you think about it, maybe the year 2022, 23, 24, 8K movies will be, or 8K TVs will be in everybody's household, maybe by that time. I don't know. I can't say yes or no to that, but that's what I'm thinking they are looking at. It's kind of like when a Stadia came out and said 8K at 120 frames, in the future. Well, hell yeah, in the future, maybe it could push that and stream that. But right now, it's just not feasible. I don't even have something that can run 8K gaming, and I have a way better fucking PC than the PlayStation 5. And I don't want to bring that back up, but I'm just trying to convince people out there that are thinking, I'm going to make a video or I'm going to do this 8K gaming. Most of them are console players only, and they have no clue what a PC is. They don't understand, what all goes into cores and threads and all this other stuff. They don't understand how hot it gets to run that stuff. That I have a liquid cooling engine in mine, and when I push mine, I run it for, like I said, 4K, 80 frames, 90 frames at the most, depending on games. But it runs it hard. I have 3 fans on the top. I have a 650 watt fan on the bottom, and I have a liquid cooling graphics card. It does take a lot to keep it cool. So with all that said, I think they're going to have something in there that's going to keep, their thing from overheating. Obviously, they're still working on it, but that's not the only thing that I think they're going to be dropping on us later on down the road. I already brought up the controllers. I think the controllers are going to be still the same DualShock, kind of like the DualShock 4 and DualShock 3 and DualShock 2. And I think they do that for consumer comfortability. When you're a consumer and you buy a console, and let's say you haven't played it in a while, you don't want to go to another console and be like, I have to learn a new controller. I think, what Nintendo does, evolving with their controllers, they're unique, and I'm not going to jump, but it sometimes turns off consumers by, I don't want to have to learn a new controller. So I could see PlayStation 5 having the same style of a controller. Yes, a little bit different, maybe a little bit different ergonomics and stuff, but they may have a new feature, like the touchpad may be a screen they were hinting, possibly rumored. The PlayStation VR 2 could possibly be announced. There's tons of games that they're going to be now bringing that people are working on for the PlayStation 5. Now that you're thinking, oh wow, Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima, and you can even think of Death Stranding, oh man, these are going to be PlayStation 4 late-gen console releases, game releases. And now you're thinking, well, man, I don't want to buy the PlayStation 5 if it's not. Well, now we have, official from Mark Cerny, the architect, creator, that it's going to be backwards compatible on the PlayStation 4. So that made me excited, because now even if I buy them games on the PlayStation 4, I don't even have to wait for them to come back out on the PlayStation 5. I could buy them in November of this year or April of next year, whenever. I could buy it 2 months before the PlayStation 5 hits, and then go buy the PlayStation 5 and just put them disc and put it in my PlayStation 5, and it'll still play. And that's cool to know that your money's not going to waste when you spend money on a Death Stranding or Last of Us 2 or even Ghost of Tsushima. These are going to be some big-time first-party exclusive games that Sony wants to sell. And if they're selling them so late in the the PlayStation 4, end of their generation console, they want themselves to continue on the PlayStation 5, whether they redo them or not and make them PlayStation 5 titles like they did with Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption, all that other stuff. That will be, time will tell. But I see them going, we're not wanting to not make enough money in sales on these games. So that's awesome to see. And I think one of the other things, guys, at the end, when it gets closer to the PlayStation 5, I think obviously they're definitely going to be bringing, I think, and this is just me, I think they're going to really wait until it's closer to get the PlayStation 5. And And they're going to announce PlayStation 3, 2, and 1 backwards compatibility games. I think they're still going to be bringing that. There's a lot of other features that, some people are wanting to wait and see. But it's a big news right now, guys. It's huge news if you're a Sony PlayStation fan or even a fanboy to use against your friends at school or just your brother-in-law or your brothers or sisters. I mean, it's huge news because they don't just talk about that. They talk about the 3D audio, which is cool. They talk about how all this stuff, it just says, which Sony hopes, the AMD chip apparently includes a custom unit just for that, the 3D audio on the PlayStation 5. So it hopes that it will lead to more immersive gaming, both in the TV speakers and your headphones, which is cool. It's kind of like that Dolby Atmos in a way. It's like putting a dome over you and the sound just hits. So I want to know what you guys think. Are you excited for the PlayStation 5? Let me know down in the comments if you guys are going to buy it day one, and if you guys are excited about seeing all this backwards compatibility coming up in the future. I got to go, guys. My kid's wanting me. I'll see you guys on the next video. Stay safe. Do a good deed. Take care of one another, and I'll see you guys back again soon on the next video. Make sure you guys subscribe if you're new and ring the bell for notifications. I love you very much. Peace.